Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 19th Jan. The news items that we have picked up from the Hindu are these 13. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, Sri Lanka in talks to offer port to India. So right till now, if you've been following the news regularly, you will be knowing that China is developing a port in Sri Lanka, that is Hambantota. There were protests, if you remember, that in Hambantota port has been developed in the adjoining region, industrial cluster has been developed. So for this industrial park where land acquisition is taking place, people are protesting against it. So there are problems which China is also facing in Sri Lanka in investing up here, facing problems because of public protests. Plus also Sri Lanka has said that there are issues of corruption as such involved too in providing along with Chinese FDI coming into Sri Lanka. So right now Sri Lanka has made it clear that it's not just China that we are tilting towards. We need to balance in South Asian politics, and that's why they have made it clear that we are going to give equal access or equal opportunity to all powers. So Sri Lanka has given Hambantota port development to China. Now in Trincomalee, which is up here, you can see there the port has been offered, development here has been offered to India. So that is what the news is about, that Sri Lanka wants to maintain a neutral stand and provide equal access to its ports to both China and India. So access to ports is very important because it is not just for economic commercial purposes that it can be used for trade, but also in times of wars, providing access to a particular country is through the ports. So these facilities are quite important from strategic perspectives. So that is why, so if you must have heard of string of pearls theory too, about China bringing in ports in various countries in South Asia under its control to encircle India. So that is called string of pearls, theory, which has been put forth, which of course China rejects, but India believes in. So this is there. So currently, even with respect to Hambantota, they have said that the port has been given to a private entity and not to Chinese government as such. So we will address all security concerns which India has. That is Sri Lanka's stand. Also recently there is news that Chinese nuclear submarines will visit Sri Lanka. So here also whatever are India's concerns with respect to this will be addressed as well. So that is the Sri Lankan foreign minister speaking. Then the next news item is respect sovereignty, India tells China. So this is with respect to China-Pakistan economic corridor. This has been in news quite often, so I don't think this will be something new for you now. So this is China-Pakistan economic corridor. This is from Kashgar in Xinjiang province in China. From here, the route goes through Pakistan into up to the Gwadar port. So Gwadar port is the port in which China has invested. So Chinese have access here. So to providing access reaching this port, they have provided this route, China-Pakistan economic corridor. So this route will be developed, industrial clusters would be developed around it. So this is seen by some in Pakistan as a huge opportunity of Chinese investment coming into the country in Pakistan, so that economic development would take place along this route. And some see it skeptically that this would bring in China having indoors into Pakistan, and with respect to security aspect, China would have access to Pakistan. So there are concerns as well. So but the thing is, it is bringing in huge investments. So of course the Pakistan government is supporting it. But then there are concerns in China as well with respect to China-Pakistan economic corridor, and those concerns are with respect to these routes passing through regions which are known to be terrorist infested, which are known for separatist activities too, with respect to uncertainty here, instability here in these regions. So here you can see this is the Balochistan province here through which it passes. Even this federally administered tribal area, FATA, and these regions, these are also having close access to Afghanistan, where even Afghan government also speaks up against Pakistan of harboring terrorists. So these are people who live in this, take shelter in these regions. So that's why these are called terrorist infested region, and that's why this path has also been left to take in another path which is a little longer but is more secure. So this is another path which has been proposed for China-Pakistan economic corridor. So this will be bypassing all these regions of unrest in Pakistan. So now the problem which India has with this China-Pakistan economic corridor is that this route passes through POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So presently this region, you should know, this is the LOC here somewhere. So line of control beyond that, this region is Pakistan occupied Kashmir, POK, which India claims as its own, but then it is under the administrative control of Pakistan. So Pakistan is a controlling authority here, and Chinese project, if it passes through this and is a project with Pakistan, so then India's sovereignty is questioned in this region. So that's why the point of view presently is being made that respect sovereignty. That is what Indian Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar on the sidelines of Raisina dialogue. So Raisina dialogue also we have discussed previously. So on the sidelines of this, he had spoken saying that China should also respect India's sovereignty. The way it is very sensitive about sovereignty issues. You must have heard about Taiwan case. So when Taiwan leader, their prime minister, spoke to president or the head of the government there, spoke to Donald Trump, the president-elect. So that was not liked by China. So there again, how can he take a call directly from a region which is considered to be part of China? So Taiwan is an island region close to China, and China claims it to be part of its own as such. So there is a separate government, separate administration there, but China still claims it is under us. It is on China policy which it believes in. So Taiwan is also considered part of China. So it's not given an independent identity, and that is why the way they behave, the way China put forth its views in the international domain, then why India, with respect to India's sovereignty, is not respected. So that is being questioned. Then the next news item is India's first clinical trial to reduce hair loss in cancer patients. So when cancer patients undergo chemotherapy, so because of that, the heat which is generated in this chemotherapy, which is used to kill cancerous cells, also affects the hair, the scalp, and the hair loss occurs. So because this results in the person going bald too, it is more traumatic for women as such. So there is a alternative way which has been put forth, a way in which the hair loss can be minimized. 60 to 80% of the hair loss can be reduced. So this is an initiative which has been taken in India. It is a treatment, or it's a way which is used in UK. So it is technique widely used in UK, and it has been introduced in India presently. A clinical trial is being undertaken at Tata Memorial Hospital in Mumbai. So here the trial is being undertaken on 4 patients, and the results would be seen. So it's basically with the help of scalp coolers. So because of this chemotherapy, heat is generated, so that heat is minimized while the chemotherapy is undertaken. That's why scalp coolers are being used, so that the heat spread to the scalp reduces and hair loss does not take place to the extent as it does. So this is there. The machine contains coolants at temperature up to -4 degrees Celsius. So generally it is seen that patients, because of this technique of using coolants, also see headache or undergo cough and cold as such develops. But then apart from that, there are no other significant side effects because of this. So this is being undertaken as a clinical trial right now. So it says the extreme cold reduces blood supply to the scalp, thus restricting the intravenous chemotherapy medication from reaching it. So because it's very cold, the blood supply in this region is minimized, because chemotherapy is intravenously given, means through an injection it is given in the blood. So through the blood body fluid it spreads. So that's why, to reduce the flow of blood to the brain, this cooling technique is used. So this reduces damage to hair follicles and preserves hair. Right. Then the next news item is speedily decide TB patient's plea. So this is a case which we have done earlier, discussed it earlier. It has come in news that a girl who is suffering from extremely drug-resistant TB, XDR TB, is demanding in the court of law. She has approached the Delhi High Court asking why she has not been provided with the bedaquiline, which is a medicine developed by J&J, Johnson & Johnson, and it has been made accessible in India, but on a limited basis. So there are many restrictions put forth on providing these medicines to patients, because what is seen is drug resistance develops in tuberculosis. So drug resistance develops when the medication is taken in excess doses or less doses, or is not taken regularly. So to ensure that this bedaquiline medicine does not develop drug resistance, the patient does not develop drug resistance to this too, that's why restrictions have been imposed. Another aspect which was put forth earlier too is that still trials are required. It should be approved, and then only bedaquiline can be made available. So those were also the concerns. And this drug resistance is on an individual basis. Means if if you're suffering from TB for the first time, then first line of drugs only would be used, rifampicin and isoniazid. So this niacin, that is because you are suffering from TB for the first time. So your body has not developed drug resistance. If you take that regular course properly, like DOTS, DOTS treatment is also there for TB in India, which is WHO approved, World Health Organization approved treatment process. That is directly observed treatment short course, DOTS, DOTS. So this means that the medication has to be taken under observation at regular intervals, that the patient has to show that he has been taking the medicine in the right doses and at regular intervals. So all these precautions are required. So if you have not developed first line of drug resistance, then you may, but if you have TB again for the second time and your body has developed resistance to the first line of drugs, then second line. So there is TB, multi-drug resistant TB, and then extremely drug resistant TB, MDR TB and XDR TB. So it depends on how you are taking the medication. But then extremely drug resistant TB is at the extreme stage, and if proper medication is not provided, the person's life is also endangered. So that's why it is demanded that at least the medication should be made available to the patient who is at the last stage suffering because of tuberculosis. So it is a fatal disease too at this stage. So that is why the Delhi High Court has now directed the Drug Controller of India, the DCGI, Drug Controller General of India, that the drug should be made available to the patient who is there. So that should be looked into. Plus also there is a new drug, Delamanid. So Delamanid should also be imported. It has not been made available in India yet. So this drug should also be imported under the compassionate access program. So you have to look whether how this is possible. So that is the direction given to Drug Controller General of India by the Delhi High Court. So this is the news right now about the drugs for TB. So you can see conditional approval has been given by US FDA in 2012 to bedaquiline. Then World Health Organization also had meeting on bedaquiline, and World Health Organization has released a guidance on how to use the bedaquiline drug as such. So that has also been provided. Then World Health Organization on Delamanid. So Delamanid also, World Health Organization had an expert meeting in 2014, and for that also guidance has been released in 2014 on Delamanid. So this all has to be undertaken by India as well. So India has to step up to and make these TB drugs available in India as such. Then the next news item is revised visa format to include crime record. So this is the proposal coming forth from Ministry of Women and Child Development. Maneka Gandhi is the minister here. So she has said that there are foreign nationals who have a record of child abuse, and they should be prohibited from entering into India. There should be restrictions on them. So that is why the visa format which we have should be revised to make a provision for them to mention the crime record as such with respect to what crimes are they been accused of or have been imprisoned for. So these are required so that such foreigners are not allowed entry or restricted entry into India. So there was a recent arrest of a foreigner in Hyderabad with respect to uploading child sex abuse material online. So such cases, when they come into the fore, then there was previous crime record too. So these can be prevented. Such nationals can be prevented from entering into India, and such cases can be averted. Then the next news item is court decrees can't be flouted, warns Supreme Court. So this is regarding the Satluj-Yamuna link canal dispute between Punjab and Haryana, and this is a warning issued by Supreme Court to Punjab, because Supreme Court has ordered Punjab to take action and start work on this Satluj-Yamuna link canal, but Punjab has been reluctant on this part. So this is the statement given that court orders cannot be flouted, cannot be violated. So the history of this dispute is quite old. It is in 1966 that Punjab and Haryana were divided. So it was one complete state of Punjab which was divided into Punjab and Haryana, with Chandigarh being the common capital and the union territory. So this was in 1966. So on linguistic lines, after the State Reorganization Commission of 1956 gave its order that linguistic states can be formed taking administrative convenience into consideration. So based on that, Punjabi speaking and Haryanvi Hindi dialect speaking regions were divided. So Punjab and Haryana were formed as two separate states. So at this time, it was sought to take into consideration that Haryana would face water concerns. So to make equal access or sufficient access to water available to Haryana, the central government had allocated that around in 1976, this was made clear that around 3 million acre feet quantity of water would be provided to Haryana as such. So this would be put into effect with this canal, Satluj Yamuna link canal as such, which was proposed. Haryana started work on it immediately. It was in its favor, but Punjab delayed this. Till 1980s, it did nothing. Eventually, in 1981, an agreement was signed and the two states mutually agreed for reallocation of water, and this Satluj Yamuna link canal was then supposed to be completed in 2 years. Means 1981 se 1983, by then it should be completed. But then attacks took place on the canal workers here by militants, and this resulted in work being stopped. In 1996, Haryana government approached the Supreme Court asking for passing orders on early completion of this canal by Punjab. That in 2002, Supreme Court ordered Punjab to complete the canal work in 1 year. But then, of course, Punjab government did not go ahead with the work, and it filed a petition again, a counter petition as such, in 2004 to asking the Supreme Court to dismiss this Satluj Yamuna link canal dispute. So this was rejected. Then this petition of Punjab was dismissed, and then as a response to that, the Punjab Assembly passed 2004 Act on terminating all its obligations under the 1981 Act agreement. So whatever agreement was there in 1981 between the two states, we are terminating it. We have no obligations now. So this was the 2004 Act of Punjab Termination of Agreement Act 2004. So this Haryana has not challenged this act as such before the Supreme Court, but then a presidential reference was provided. So it was APJ Abdul Kalam who was the president then. He sought the Supreme Court's opinion on this 2004 Act. So on this is an advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So on this advisory jurisdiction, Supreme Court has given its viewpoint. So that has come in November 2016. That's when it was in news that the Supreme Court finally held that Satluj Yamuna link canal Termination of Agreement Act, Punjab Termination of Agreement Act of 2004 was unconstitutional. So that is the Supreme Court stand now, but presently what is being stated is that it is the Supreme Court's viewpoint on the advisory jurisdiction. So it is not that the Haryana government has filed a case before the Supreme Court and Supreme Court has given its view. It's only an advisory jurisdiction view. So that is why now they are trying to bring forth that point of view. So there is nothing binding on Punjab. That's what they are trying to say. But of course, Supreme Court has clearly stated that, because it is earlier too. It's not that this was the advisory jurisdiction, but already the Supreme Court had ordered Punjab to implement the canal work in 1 year. After that, 2004, the agreement was passed and that has been declared unconstitutional. So of course, it does not give any leeway to Punjab to violate the Satluj Yamuna link canal agreement now. So that is there. And the recent developments also you should know after the presidential reference. In 2016, March itself, Punjab has passed another act. Punjab Satluj Yamuna link canal land transfer of propriety rights bill 2016. So this means that whatever land has been acquired, because till now for the Satluj Yamuna link canal, Punjab region, their land has been acquired for development of this canal, but then no significant construction work has started. So now what they're doing is they have passed a bill, this act as such, which will give back the land to the people from whom they had been acquired. So this transfer of propriety rights bill, canal land, that has been put forth by the Punjab Assembly. So this, after this bill also been initiated, Supreme Court ordered that the status quo should be maintained by the parties on the land meant for Satluj Yamuna link canal project. You cannot return the land. So that was also the Supreme Court order. So this is the development till now on this project. So presently what has been in news is the points of view put forth by the advocate for Punjab, that is Ram Jethmalani, that the center there is no obligation on Punjab as such, and that he is asking center should intervene and try to resolve this dispute amongst these states. So that is the status till now. Then the next news item is frauds decrease but security is still an issue. So there are concerns over security as because global companies that operate in India, they feel that they suffer from fraud incidents, that they are being frauded, and also like corruption, bribery is prominent here. Management of conflict of interest is a concern here, and also market collusion, market working together to for others to suffer, another competitor to suffer. Internal frauds as such are prominent. Even the current and former employees are generally involved in these frauds. So frauds cases have decreased as such, but still they are significant. That is what is being put forth. We are only second to China. So China, the number of fraud cases concerns are maximum, and after that comes India. So this is under the annual global fraud and risk report that all these details have come for. Then the next, Cabinet boosts corpus for small enterprises. So there is this scheme, Credit Guarantee Trust Fund for Micro and Small Enterprises. So government will provide credit guarantee. This is rupees. So it will increase from rupees 2,500 crore to rupees 7,500 crore. That has been as per the promise of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his New Year's Eve address, when he said that there will be a support for small and medium enterprises coming forth. So credit guarantee would be provided. So whatever credit they take, guarantee would be provided by the government on this. Remember, even RBI governor at one point later, he has spoken that government should not undertake such credit guarantees because it is undermining its own credibility if the credit guarantee, because of which its own premium on loans increases. So there is more premium which it would have to pay on such future loans which it would take. So this can be avoided, but government has put forth this fund and this scheme for the small and medium enterprises. So this is the fund increase that has been put forth. Also, it says that the coverage of loans covered under credit guarantee scheme would be increased from rupees 2 crore. Increased to rupees 2 crore. Earlier it was 1 crore. So that will be the coverage of loans also increased. So this is the proposal for or scheme put forth for small and medium enterprises. Then the next news item is Cabinet nod for listing of 5 insurance companies. So 5 insurance companies would be listed on the stock exchange. So this is the New India Assurance Company, United India Insurance, Oriental Insurance Company, National Insurance Company, and General Insurance Corporation of India. So all these are public sector undertakings under the public sector. So government has decided to disinvest 25% of its share, central government's share, in each of them over a period of time. So that would take place gradually. So presently the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has approved this in principle. So this was as per the budget proposal too, and finally now it is being put into effect because government has clearly stated that we do not want to be in business. Government is not to undertake business. So we'll divest out of these business entities because then the whole burden of them also falls. So if it's a profit, profit goes to the government, and if it's a loss, the loss is incurred by the government. So disinvesting from these would help in government regulating its business, and disinvestment would bring in money too. So the target for disinvestment, money which would come or can be earned through disinvestment for this year was 56,500 crore in this financial year. Till now, 21,432 crores have been earned. So that is been put forth too. These companies, all these insurance companies, 4 of them are shown here. These are the 4 large insurance companies. So their gross premium income, if you look at it, is significant, and the profit which they get after tax is less. So compared to this is quite low because a lot of it is underwritten. So that's why the government has to now finally disinvest out of it so that it can put forth its business, its work effectively rather than focusing on business aspect. Then the next news item is cap set on SOPs for electronics. So even for electronics manufacturing, there is a scheme, Modified Special Incentive Package Scheme, MSIPS. So this MSIPS scheme was notified in 2012. It was in 2015 extended till 2020, and now presently the Union cabinet has cleared some changes to this scheme, and these changes are that subsidies will be provided within 5 years time frame. Earlier it was that after the project has completed 10 years. So in that time 10 years it would be provided subsidy. Now it would be provided within 5 years only. The applications can be received, that has also been extended till December 2018. So the incentive commitment is also increased. So it has committed, government has committed that we would provide 10,000 crore incentive under the scheme. So that much would be provided by the government. That has been the commitment made as such. So even with respect to mega projects, there will be a high powered committee which will approve these incentive packages. So earlier there was also concern with respect to these incentive packages, because it was seen that companies would come in because there's a huge subsidy provided. So 20 to 25% subsidy on capital expenditure was provided. Means all the taxes which they pay as such, they would be reimbursed. So all these subsidies provided and schemes which would be projects which would be getting the benefit of this scheme were approved as such too. But then it was later seen that many backtracked too. So there were companies who were rolling back their plans even after their proposals were approved. So that time their disinvestment is not same as committed by them. So they do less of investment than committed, on the basis of which subsidy is provided. So then it was difficult to come up with an exact estimate of what subsidy should be provided to. So there were concerns of the Finance Ministry with respect to this. The Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Electronics and IT Ministry and Finance Ministry have come to an agreement now, and modifications have been made to MSIPs. Finance Ministry actually wanted a cap on subsidy, that how much subsidy can be provided, that should be capped as such. Maximum limit should be finalized. So that is the news here. The next news item is Regional Connectivity Plan NET's proposal to revive 65 airports. So there are around 65 airports, underserviced and unserved airports. Underserved and unserved airports means airports which are, many of them are still dormant too. Very less flights going from them. So you can see here. Unserved airports means they have not seen a single flight for more than a year. So they're called unserved airports. Underserved airports means they have less than 7 commercial flights departures in a week. So these unserved and underserved airports, there are around 65, which will be revived under the government's regional connectivity scheme. So this has been put forth by the government, but how this would be funded is 80% of the funding would come up through a cess which has to be imposed by the airlines in the flight tickets as such. So this cess which will be paid, this would be used for funding this regional connectivity scheme, and this would be 80% of it through this cess, and 20% should be coming from the state governments. So that is the regional connectivity scheme funding aspect. And for these unserved and underserved airports, for flights to these regions, whichever airlines undertake them, they would have to charge the passengers only maximum 2,500. So based on how much distance it is, it's around 2,500 for 1 hour's flight. So this has been decided. So if at this rate, of course, it would not be feasible for the aircrafts to serve these unserved, underserved airports. So remaining loss which they are making, which has to be reimbursed, that would be provided by the government through this funding. So that is what the proposal is. But the airlines are not ready to put this into effect. The airlines are complaining that they don't want to increase the fares. And what authority does the government have to ask them to put into effect this cess? So this is being challenged by them in the judiciary. So this case is already going on over there too. And the government wants, what it basically wants is regional connectivity to improve. So that is their aspect. So of course that initiative is noble, nobody can challenge that. But the way funding is being provided for is questioned. So the aircraft say that, airlines say that there should be other ways in which funding can be provided, and the government argues that this is the efficient way of funding. Other ways would prove inefficient. So let's see how, but the government, central government is still ready. They said we'll find alternatives if the airlines do not agree to this. So we'll wait and watch what happens on this aspect too. But presently this is in news that government has taken in proposals. So airlines have to give proposals that whether they would be ready to serve these airports and which routes do they serve, and how they would be wanting to be part of the scheme and take benefit of it. So it's like cess is being paid by the passengers, that is the airlines getting them, which will be provided to the government, and then the airlines themselves would be incentivized. So this is additional business which would be generated for them, and if they are serving through this, they can be part of the scheme and they can earn through this too. Government would provide them the subsidy. So that is the point put forth, that it is just realignment within the airline sector which is being undertaken by the government to have regional connectivity improved in the country. So now presently the news is that the government has asked for counter bids to revive the 65 unserved and underserved airports, out of which 52 are unserved and 13 are underserved. The proposals have been sought and the airlines have provided this proposal. So these proposals which have come to them, these bids are being now sought to have, the government is now seeking counter bids on this. That these proposals, initial proposals have come. Now counter bids would come, they would be accepted till February 1. So what has been proposed as the lowest requirement for revival of these unserved, underserved routes? So that is called viability gap funding, that how much would be required to be invested to revive these routes. So that one who proposes the minimum lowest requirement of viability gap funding would be awarded as such the bid. So they would be funded under the scheme. So that is how this would take place. So bids and counter bids are being sought right now. Right, that is the news. Regional connectivity scheme was announced and it was sought to be put into effect from 1st April 2016 itself, but then that did not take place. The proposal was to have 2,500 the price of airfare as such for 1 hour flight. So this was to revive unserved, underserved airports. Even construction of no-frills airports at the cost of 50 crore rupees was sought. Even viability gap funding for scheduled commuter airlines would be sought, and 2% levy would be imposed on all domestic and international routes, on all routes except these, of course, unserved, underserved routes. So this levy would be used. This is the cess which would be used for funding the connectivity scheme. 80% of this would come from this. So this was there. Concessions which would be provided. So state government would provide concession like free land. VAT on aviation turbine fuel would be at 1% or less. Even central government would provide service tax exemption on tickets under regional connectivity scheme. Aviation turbine fuel drawn by scheduled airlines from this regional connectivity scheme airports would be exempted from excise duty, which is under the central government. So these proposals were put forth and to be put into effect from 1st April 2016, but it has not been put into effect yet. So this is the air connectivity. Even new airports, greenfield and brownfield airports are proposed to be developed too. So greenfield project means a project which is starting from scratch, a new construction, a new initiative being taken. Green here has nothing to do with environment, so be clear with that. A greenfield project is something which is started on a fresh ground, a fresh land being acquired and a fresh construction taking place. A brownfield project is a project in which something which is already there is being modified, improvised. So that is called a brownfield project. So that is greenfield and brownfield. So many such airports are being revived and even new airports developed. So these are called greenfield projects across the country. It can be with respect to anything. This is with respect to airports. So these projects have been given in principal approval, that is shown. The next news item is prototype of supercomputer in 2017. So China plans to develop a prototype exascale supercomputer. So this exascale computer would be much faster than the present world's fastest supercomputer which China had built, which was named so in June 2016. So this is Sunway Tiahu Light machine. So this will be much faster than even this. So a prototype of this would be made available in 2017. It would take few more years before which it can finally be put into effect. So by 2020 it may come into effect. So these supercomputers work at very fast speed, and this China's project was appreciated because it was made using only locally made microchips. It was the first time that a country had taken the top spot of having the fastest supercomputer in the world without using US technology. So that was Chinese initiative here, Sunway Tiahu Light. And presently the exascale computers would be much faster than these present fastest supercomputers. They can execute at least 1 quintillion calculations in 1 second. Means 1 billion calculations can be undertaken in 1 second. So this is what is being China has been working on now. So even it will be 200 times more powerful than the country's first petaflop computer. So the country's first, China's first petaflop computer was Tianhe-1. So this was the recognized as the world's fastest in 2010. 2010 world's fastest, 2016's world fastest was Chinese, and now this one will be 200 times faster than this 2010 supercomputer, fastest supercomputer. So this is there. China for the first time in 2016 also had more top ranked supercomputers than US. China had 167 supercomputers in the list as such, and US had 165. So China is marching ahead in this aspect too. So this is regarding that. India lags behind in this aspect. We developed our first supercomputer in 1991. That was Param by CDAC, Center for Development of Advanced Computing. After that, presently the fastest supercomputer is Aditya of India, and that Aditya ranks around 130 something, 137 in the list of supercomputers. So we don't have top ranking supercomputers presently with us, but then Aditya, it is developed by Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. So that our supercomputers have been developed by India, but we are not racing or are in the race for the top slot right now. We are lagging behind in this. The next news item is Mumbai set to turn hotter by 2100, warns global study. So this is a global study which has been done for understanding mild weather. So mild weather is defined as temperatures between 18 and 30 degrees Celsius. So this mild weather has economic significance too. So this is the time when outdoor weddings, fishing, picnic, as such tourism can be developed. So these are significant for economy. So mild weather will reduce. So that is what is there, that Mumbai presently enjoys about 82 mild weather days per year, and by 2035 this will be reduced by 16. By 2100 it will be reduced by 44. So mild weather days would be reduced. So that is a study being undertaken globally. So that is US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and Princeton University. They have produced this first global analysis of how climate change will affect the frequency and location of mild weather days. So on an average, there is a 74 mild weather days which are there a year in the countries presently globally, which will drop by 4 days and 10 days as such by 2035 and 2100. But this is an average. So of course, it will vary drastically from region to region. Some regions would be very much adversely affected, and those are in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So these tropical regions would be suffering a lot too. So this is the study. So these are the news items. Thank you.